Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you wherever you are around the world. And welcome to my Wake and Stretch series. So, the whole month of April, we're going to show up, or I'm going to show up, and hopefully you'll join me so that we can stay inspired to do something during this strange and unusual times in our lives. So, I don't know, today I'm just not feeling it. Doesn't mean I'm not grateful. Doesn't mean that I'm upset or sad or depressed. I'm just not feeling it. I don't know if anybody else out there feels that way, or I'm sure somebody has felt that way at some point. So I'm just gonna jump on my mat today and see what comes out. This may be a real boring one. Sorry in advance if it is. But I never am sorry that I got on the mat and moved. Moving always makes me feel a little bit better, no matter how intense it is. So, yeah. All right, here I go. I'm just gonna start laying on my back and just give a little windshield wiper action side to side. If you are joining me in the movements, just know that I'm not going to instruct as in depth as I normally would. I am trying to do my own practice as well. So that means that I want to connect to my breath as I practice. And talking a lot sometimes makes that difficult. I'm going to do this a few more times. And I'm going to pull the legs into the chest. Just kind of hang out here, sort of hugging my legs, sort of, I don't know what it is, but my knees are wide. So I get a little inner thigh. It's kind of like child's pose with wide knees, but on my back. So the big toes are kind of near each other. Oh, right, I didn't say today's date. Today is Monday, April 6th, at least where I am. It's the morning of. And you may hear a little bit more traffic noise today than the past couple days. Here in Sri Lanka, the curfew has been lifted until 2 p.m., so people are out trying to get their food supplies, and I'm sure that there's a lot of deliveries being made today, so you'll hear a lot of traffic going back and forth. I'm just going to release and give myself a nice long stretch here. Ooh. Maybe what I need right now is a little bit of yin. Oh, maybe that's what the body needs. So I'm going to go into banana asana. Hips to the right, legs to the left. Shoulders and arms to the left. So you're making a crescent shape with the body. You can see my right ankle is crossed over the left. This is just to give a little bit more intensity through the top leg there. And that happens to be my right leg. I don't know how yin this is going to be because I don't know how long I want to stay here for. Yin, typically you would stay for, I don't know, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I don't think I'm going to stay that long. So my myofascial release will be minimal. But this does feel pretty nice to open up the side body. And the pins and needles in my arms is a signal to gently come out. So I'm going to come back into a Shavasana. I'm going to rest here for a little bit before I move to the other side. And I'm going to make my way to the other side. So hips shift over to the left a little bit. Legs go over to the right. Shoulders and torso go over to the right. So to the arms. Nice stretch here through the side body in Banana Asana. Well, this side's a little bit more intense. I think I'll uncross the feet for this one. Probably stay here for about 3 or 4 more breaths, something like that. And gently release and come into Shavasana. Let my body restore itself. From here, I'm just going to simply flip over and come into a Sphinx pose. Just be nice and relaxed. Not too worried about alignment this morning. Getting an easy back bend, letting my shoulders kind of open up a little bit. Feel this mostly in the lower back. And I'm opening up my legs a little wider because I do feel a little bit of pinching in the low back. And if you're feeling that too, opening the legs helps to decrease that sensation. From here, I'm going to move my way into child's pose. Just a nice, easy stretch this morning. Nothing too intense, probably not a lot of movement. Gently coming up. Sometimes morning practice, being still is exactly what we need. Sometimes being active all the time just kind of, I'm going to use a big word here, let's hope it comes out right, exacerbates any anxiety. So being able to tap into what you're feeling and what you need on each day is important. If you feel like you gotta get up and go and run and do an active yoga practice or lift weights or whatever it is to expel that energy, then do that. Do that thing that will help you relieve the stress. For me today, this morning, it's just being super chill. I think it's because I know I have an active day ahead of me. So, as I mentioned, I don't know if you were here with me when I mentioned it, today the curfew is lifted here in Sri Lanka. So that means that deliveries can be made people are out and about. There's a lot of energy already. I can hear it on the road, which is awesome. It's good to get out of the house. But what that also means is that when the delivery of food comes to us today, I'm going to be in the kitchen all day cleaning it and preparing it, which I am grateful that we have the delivery and all that's happening, but it will require a lot of energy. So taking a few moments this morning to just be and be still, although I'm talking with my hands a lot and being very New Jersey right now. I'll let my hands rest. I also know that tonight my time, I'm doing an active vinyasa flow on my Facebook Live. So I'm also trying not to completely wear out my body. So I think just for a few minutes I'm going to sit here. I'm actually not going to say anything, hopefully, and keep myself quiet and just breathe. Just a nice gentle breath. I'm going to stay with my breath here, but I feel like my hands need a little bit of opening. So as I sit and breathe, I'm going to gently open up the palms of the hands. Gently pulling the forefingers back, letting the thumb be loose. And what this does is it opens up the fascia, the connective tissue in the hands. And you may have heard me say this before, but it bears repeating. There's the most amount of fascia connective tissue in the hands and the feet. And when we can get some fluid moving, get some openness in those areas, it does resonate through the entire body. And these days, with people being online so much and using their phones and tablets, the hands are getting a lot of use. It's good to spend some time to take care of them. And so this is also on the yin side of things. Because I'm slowing down, I'm not doing a lot of movement. It's in the yin realm. I'm going to gently release the fingers. And before I move on to the thumb, I'm just going to let that hand sit and rest. I'm going to let it do what it's going to do. Take the time to feel the feels in my hand. I can feel my fingers very slowly curling back up. And once they feel somewhat, I'm going to say back to normal, but they're not back to normal because I did stretch them out. Once I don't feel any more sensation, that's a better way to say it, I'm going to move to my thumb. Just very gently pull it away. No pain here, just a nice tugging sensation through the hand, the palm of the hand and my thumb. Probably stay here for a couple more breaths. Very gently release the thumb and do the same thing. Bring the hand to my leg and just let the hand rebound in its own time. So letting my thumb and the palm of the hand relax as it will. I'm resisting the urge to crack my thumb because it's really what I want to do right now. But I'm just going to let it be. Let's see how long I can hold out before trying to crack that thumb. I don't think it's going to be very long. And I very gently move my hands around. Nope, we gotta do it. Alright, so now that that right hand is a little bit more open, I move to the left. Gently pulling the forefingers back. Elbow can be straight or not, whatever feels good. Getting a nice stretch through the palm of the hands, the fingers, possibly through the wrist and the forearm. If you really straighten the elbow, you may feel it in the forearm more. Everybody's body is a little bit different, so it doesn't matter what it looks like. It matters more what it feels like. You may notice that the second hand feels different than the first, depending on the dominance, if you're right-handed or left-handed. For me, the left hand doesn't feel like much of anything, but the right hand sure did. I'm a righty. And gently release those fingers and go through the same process, letting the hand rest on my thigh, feeling the feels, letting my fingers and the palm of the hand and wrists rest in its own time. And now gently moving to the thumb, since my fingers have stopped talking. Just very gently pulling it back, getting a nice stretch through the thumb joint area. It's not really the joint that's getting stretched per se, but gently releasing the thumb, letting the hands rest on the thigh, feeling the feels. Now what's funny is on this hand, I don't feel like I want to crack those knuckles at all. That hand is simply content. Oh wait, change that. Now the thumb wants to bend. Alright, so I'm going to wiggle my left fingers a little bit. Cool. Alright, so since we opened up our wrists in one direction, we're going to do it in the other direction. But I'm going to do both at the same time. So coming onto knees, turning the palms down and then fingers toward the knees. Very gently rest your weight forward. This will be different for everyone if you're doing this with me. Again, we're not looking for pain. This is not the most comfortable position in the world. It does stretch out the wrists quite a bit. out there practice yin, you know that sometimes discomfort is the name of the game. And how do you live in that discomfort? The one way that I have found to live through that discomfort, even it's always temporary, is the breath. One breath at a time. And even when you don't think you can do it for another breath or two, you probably can, as long as you're not feeling pain. Discomfort is a way of life sometimes. Sometimes it pops in when we don't want it to be there. Right now my wrists don't like this. Alright, one more full breath. I'm going to ease my way out of this because going fast will just feel terrible. So I'm going to very gently let the hands roll and just let them rest on my thigh. Which of course now my nose itches. Don't you hate that? I do that when I'm washing the dishes too. As soon as my hands get all soapy, immediately my face is itchy. Does that happen to anybody else? Right, this one I think is going to take a little longer for my wrists to acclimate, to relax. Lots of sensation going through there right now. Try to start moving my fingers. Oof. Yeah, that one was rather intense. And I'm very slowly rolling through the wrists. There's a nice little massage that you can do if your wrists are really bothering you. Rather than using the fingers to massage, you can press the base of your hands together. Makes a nice brain. From here, keep energy between the wrists, keep them pressing together, and just gently roll. As you do this, the bones and the muscles will kind of massage each other. My mouth isn't that awake. And if you find a tight spot and you want to roll a little bit longer there, do it. So the home practice, the morning practice, at least for me, is the time for me to do what I need to take care of myself. And I hope that you do the same in some shape or form. And if you are rolling through, you go in either direction. Give them a good shake. That looks really funny, doesn't it? All right. So one last thing that I'm going to do is open up the feet, because as I said, once you open the fascia in the hands and the feet, hopefully everything else is going to follow. So this is my very gentle way this morning of opening up. So screaming toe, I'm going to turn to the side so that you can see. The toes tuck underneath, and if you have a pinky toe that reaches the mat, make sure that it's included. You want your ankles to be as straight up and down as possible so that the heels go to the sit bones. And everyone is different in their flexibility here and the openness in the feet and the ankles and the toes. So if your reality is that you're up a little higher and the sit bones don't connect, that's perfectly fine. If your reality is that you can sit up and be on those feet, if you're somewhere in between, wherever it is, it's exactly where you need to be today. This is not a pose that we stay in very long. That's why it's called screaming toe. The toes will most likely start screaming within a few seconds. I think that's about it on that. Gently come forward onto hands and knees. Sorry, my head's out of the frame. Let your feet release. I'm just letting them dangle up in the air for a moment. We're going to give a little wiggle with the toes. Very soft, gentle movement. Ooh, good morning, ankle. Giving a little flex and point, a little rolling of the ankles. My other foot's back there too. Here it is. And then one last thing for the Achilles tendon. I keep saying one last thing. I guess I just keep wanting to go. See, I told you, once I start moving, I start to feel better. I'm never sorry that I got up and moved. So coming into a bit of a squat balance. The big toes or the big toe knuckles are touching. And I'm not doing much activity here. I'm letting the heels kind of sink down in their own natural way. I'm just going to let my body fold forward. After a few moments, you'll feel possibly the bottom of the foot, depending on how tight it is, the Achilles tendon, and the lower portion of the calf muscle. And because we're forward folded, the spinal muscles get a little bit of a stretch here too. From here, I'm just going to gently sit down. Shake the legs out a little bit because they were folded for a while. And then coming to a comfortable seated position, sitting for a few moments to feel the feels physically, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. And the dancer in me wants to be very centered in the screen, so pardon me while I adjust myself. If you're still sitting with me nice and quiet, feel free to bring one hand to your heart, one to your belly. Take a nice big deep breath. You can use this opportunity to be grateful, express some gratitude, something that you're grateful for this morning. This morning I'm grateful that we were together and that I could move and hopefully help you as well. Namaste, my friends. I hope you're feeling pretty good. Actually, I'm curious. How are you feeling? Are you guys doing well? Are you going stir crazy? Are you finding things to educate yourself? What are you doing during these quarantine times, social distancing times, all these keywords that we're hearing every day over and over and over and over? I'm curious what it is you're doing. I'm throwing myself into all of this yogi stuff. But I take a moment to shout out. I see that Stephanie was here and Jasmine was here and Kevin and hi Pam. And Pam is here as well. It kind of feels like, what's that show from the 80s? Is that Romper Room? Where, I don't remember the lady's name, but she held up a mirror and she's like, I see this person, and she would name every single person that was in the room with her. But anyway, I see you. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to peace out now. Tomorrow, excuse me, tomorrow's a full moon. So in yoga, that means some special things. So I do actually have something planned for the morning, a moon salutation. And this is actually something that I like to do very much on full moons. So I hope you'll join me in the morning again. Hope we can show up for each other. In the meantime, be well. Remember to breathe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.